everybody. Hello. How's everybody doing? Happy Thursday. Good to see y'all. Good to see some of you guys on the chat. What's up? Good to see you, Arif. Good to see you, Dino. Good to see you, Lucas. Idara, good to see you. I'll take a second to read your name. It's good to see you guys. Happy Thursday. How you guys feeling? Feeling good? Ready to create something new? Ready to go? I'm excited today to be creating something good, to be creating something new, and to do something maybe a little different than we've done before. I have an idea of what I want to do today, and hopefully we get there. We can talk a little bit through it as well. Reading the chat. If you can teach us to make stickers that wrap in the face and feel okay. So Dino's asking if I can teach him to do something that like a sticker that wraps around the face. We can look at it today. We've done a little bit of that before, but I can teach you a quick thing while we do the stream today and how to do that. Yeah, it's good to see all of you guys. Can I get CC for free? Says Sirlight. Not sure about that, man. You can check out Adobe's website for pricing. I know they have better pricing for students, so that might be a good thing. But good to have you here. It's good to see you. Join us on Discord, everybody. If you guys are not on Discord, we'd love to see you there. I'm about to open Discord right now and share with you guys, just to take a look at some of the things that we've seen before during this week. Also, some of the posts that people have shared. So, yeah, check out Discord, and it's right here on our chat. It will be here in a second, so you guys can see how to join our group and be a part of the community. It's really important to be a part of the community because we get to share a little bit of what we're doing every week. I saw something that made me really happy when I entered Discord today, is that I saw Arif posted this, and then Lucas helped him a little bit, and both of them are here in the chat. Thank you guys for sharing, helping the community, helping each other out. This is really cool. We ask people to share what they're working on, what they're doing, and a little bit of their progress and what they're working on. And one of the things that I love seeing more than anything is when somebody that is in their design journey, has been there for a long time, helps somebody else starting in the design journey, and we can see that happening here. So thank you so much, Lucas, for helping Arif and teaching him a little bit of design through this community. Super cool. And also, I love this piece, Lucas, that you shared. It's super cool. We've been talking and doing some things like this on the show, and I love the way you're using the blur, the way that you're using some of these icons and the people inside of the silhouette. Super, super, super cool. So it's good to see that. It's good to see that submission by you. It's good to see Arif, where like Lucas was taking this and teaching you like to divide some of the colors. It's super cool. So if you guys want to share a little bit of that, and if you guys want to be a part of this community, go to Discord, join the community, and you can be able to post, and we'll be able to review it here live on the show every Thursday. So without further ado, I'd love to get into creating something new. And then also, Diana, if we have a little bit of time, I'll teach you how to do the sticker stuff so we can do it together. Over Design Studio. What's up, Mag? What's up, man? Good to see you. Good to have you here. I always try to say hi to everybody in the chat when I see them pop in. But today we're jumping into Photoshop one more time. We're going to be creating something new. We created a few weeks ago, and let me go back to Discord real quick to show you guys what we did. Last time we got together, we got to spin the wheel of design, and the design roulette is what I call it. So every 5 minutes, I would get something new that I will have to do to the design, and this is what we landed at with that design that we made. If you want to see that episode, I think if you click on this link, it's going to take you straight there so you can watch it. We have all the submissions. Like a few weeks ago, we did something that looked like this, and from this, I thought it would be really cool to expand a little bit on this concept and do something kind of with this vector look that I've been doing on my work lately, and do a little bit of that in a new photo, in a new format with a new idea. And I want to talk to you guys a little bit today also about the process of getting there, right? How do you kind of dissect these ideas, because sometimes on the show I jump in and just start creating, and I don't camp out too much on what I'm thinking while I'm creating. Sometimes I do, but some of the times I just go for it and go as fast as possible. And I love to break down to you guys, and also leave it as a homework for you guys this week to be able to kind of like think through your process as composition, building assets, and then adding finishing touches to it. And I feel like that is really really the way to do it, right? So I have a few images here that I created that we're gonna use as our base. As you guys know, I love to use photography on my images as the base. So we're gonna be using one of these right here. I'm trying to decide which one. They all look good with what I want to do, because essentially I want to use the center part of the face. So we're gonna start by doing a little bit of what I'm talking about, right? We want to go from a little bit like ideation, what we want as our idea, kind of like the building blocks of that, to then be able to kind of like create a little bit of the assets that are going to go around that. And then after that, we're going to be going into Photoshop, adding shadows, adding all these different things, and doing that. So I feel like that will be the best way to do this. And yeah, using this photography, this is what I have in mind. I'm going to spend the first 10 minutes or so breaking down my idea and positioning things, almost like doing a sketch right here on my computer, using shapes and using this photo. And it doesn't really take more than that, right? It's just taking the idea, understanding what you want to do, and shaping it a little bit. So I'm trying to decide if I want to use this model, or maybe even this one. This one's really cool. I think the way she's facing down might not be good for what I want. I want more of a confident kind of look. Maybe this one will work better. What I'm looking for here on choosing this image is that I want somebody that's looking at the camera first, and then also like their perspective. I'm thinking that I wanted to do a lot of stuff around the face. So I want to be able to format her, have her looking in the place or in the direction that I want her to be looking at. And I think that's good. So first, let's go ahead and remove background. And that's going to get rid of all of the background, everything behind her. The other decision that I have to make here is if I want to keep any of this black hood thing. Sometimes I use the pen tool to cut out more specifically areas that I want to cut out that are going to be a little bit easier to cut out, and do it in this way right here. So sometimes I do like a lazy cut like that, do an inverted selection, and just click delete, and it deletes anything outside of the selection. I think I'll keep the hood for now. The alternative to this would be to just cut out the face, which was my other idea. So let's go ahead and see that and see what that looks like. For this, I'm going to be using the pen tool because I don't know if I want to keep the whole shape around the same, or if I want to edit that kind of like shape a little bit more. So I'll talk a little bit to my concept in a second. I know you guys are kind of like following what I'm doing, but you don't know exactly what I want to be creating, and that's totally fine. But let's go ahead and shape a little bit of this like that. I want to get that cheekbone in, and I want to do a normal selection down here. This area that I'm coming up to right here is where I want to see, maybe I want to go in a little bit. That's the part that I was like, maybe I want to do this little shape like this instead of the other way around. Now I'll show you guys what that looks like. So if I invert, that's what it's going to look like. I'm not sure if I want that. I feel like I'm going to keep the face totally in there. So I'm going to go back to the shape, and I'm going to just edit that shape to be in it. There you go. So let me click through it. Again, I'm using the pen tool. You can use the selection tool. You can even use the magnet tool. I remember back in the day, I used to use the magnet tool a lot and then clean it up with a brush. And that is still valid if you want to do that. I'm going to apply a new mask over here. And then now we have this, and then also we have this. The cool part about that is that we can always if we wanted to, do a mask on this and make it a solid color. I don't know if the white background is killing your eyes as much as it's killing mine, but I'll change it in a second here. Okay, so yeah, we can do a little mask behind this if we wanted to. So it gives us a little bit of flexibility on keeping the mask better design at the same time. Having the shape, not having to use it necessarily. So I think that's good. And then let me go ahead and change this background to a gray, just to have a neutral color in the back. And then I want to show you guys kind of what I'm thinking of doing, right? So I'm thinking of doing, I'm going to grab a brush over here and I'm going to be drawing on top of everything just so you guys can see what's in my brain, right? So I want to be creating some kind of like shapes like this that are going to be forming around the subject. And like creating this kind of like movement and silhouette around her. And then we're going to be going into Illustrator and actually creating these shapes. Let me select a darker color here. So obviously I'm using this brush here to just kind of plan out what I want my shapes to look like. And then I feel like creating them in Illustrator would be good. We can bring them by layers. It's going to be really easy to do it. I see Lucas and Arif talking in the chat. I think that was from a little bit ago, but it's good to see you guys collaborating and sharing ideas. That's always cool. Yeah, so I feel like I want to create like an environment around this model where you don't necessarily see this anymore, right? So you kind of see, I'm keeping it there for reference, visual reference, but this is what I'm talking about when this week's challenge for you guys. I want you guys to be thinking about anything that you do creatively. What is sort of the process that I'm following to create that thing? Do I have a clean process where I have control of what I'm doing and I'm able to very quickly like put down my ideas into a piece of paper or into the computer like I'm doing right now, and I'm able to then roll that out effectively? Or am I going immediately to the satisfaction of adding color and kind of finishing the design? And for a long time I did that with clients' work because I wanted to wow them as much as possible. I would go in immediately into like creating the idea totally, instead of going to this process that sometimes feels slow, or like it sometimes feels like, I really have to do this part, I would be eager to like just jump into creation mode. And I found that doing this sketching part, which I'm doing here in the form of painting with my mouse here in Photoshop, it's really, really important. Yeah, it sort of looks like this. I know this looks really bad, but when we take it to Illustrator and make shapes, it's going to start looking cool. Yeah, the purpose of this is like understanding in the space where things are falling and how good they feel, how bad they feel. Do I really want to do it there? Do I need something else here, for example, to balance some of these things? And that really helps kind of like the understanding of what we're creating before we get to actually creating those things. I want to create a couple more of these assets that feel more organic like this, sort of like flowers. I don't know if we should start adding more like longer type of things. Maybe even this square type of shape could become like a flower type of element. And then we can do stem coming out of it and going into here, maybe. Yeah, we're creating at this point, like ideating. So everything is possible in a way. Maybe like this. Yeah, I mean, you see, I just did that there. I didn't spend time actually making it. And after seeing it, I'm like, no, it doesn't work because it's going against the flow. the flow of my artwork right now, everything is going out, right? It feels like it's growing from this face all the way out. And that flower thing I just did, it's kind of like closing it. And I don't want it to be close. I want it to end up somewhat open, like kind of like this. Or just keeps, it feels like it keeps growing. I'm gonna keep choosing from the same colors here just to know that that's what I'm doing. In a way, it feels like a flower. And then I would like to maybe bring a little bit of structure down here that feels like a human body. But although we're only gonna see this part coming out, maybe we need a little bit more flower over here. Yeah, and then when we start creating this on vector, everything's going to be a little bit more clear and easy to see and digest. So yeah, the ideating part of any job is really like super key to understand, to know, where you are, and to get even approval. Like if you're hoping to work with bigger clients, I know working sometimes with like small clients, this part can be undervalued, especially by the client, because they might see your sketch, and that's sometimes what happens, right? Like clients see the sketch and they don't get the full picture, so they knock down the project before it even gets started because it just feels like they don't see the vision. So for that, it's really necessary to have some work that can support that vision, and they can see, okay, this is something you've made before, like what I was showing you guys before, and I can see how that can play into this in a deeper level, and then something that that might feel a little bit more intricate than what we did before. Yeah, I'm liking these patterns, how this is looking and coming together, and it's getting to the point where there's so much going on that I've lost track of which layer is which, if that makes any sense. But I feel I can figure it out once I put it in Illustrator. Yeah, we just want this kind of layers coming out of the other layers. Maybe a better sketch would have been better, like a more defined sketch. But I just want to show you guys how easy it is to follow a process of sketching, kind of like directing it from beginning to end. And then, taking this, screenshotting it, and we're going to go into Illustrator and start creating. But if you guys want to share this week on our Discord and for us to review it, let's try to create something that we can all see the process behind. And let's try to create something that is similar to this in the sense of like, hey, I can see the sketch or the intent before the person started creating anything. I feel like that would be a really good challenge for this week if we all can come up with something that feels like we saw the drawing before we saw the finished product. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy this. One thing that you can do is create a new layer inside of Illustrator, paste it in the same place, and you can do the pasting by doing Command F, and it'll paste it exactly in the same location. So Command C, Command F instead of V, and that will paste it on top of the same location that you had before, so it doesn't really move at all. And then I'm going to bring the opacity down so I can see my sketches, and I'm going to lock it. So that way I can see what's going on, but then I don't really mess it up. Okay, and then I'm going to do 3 types of layer here. Let's do my bottom layer. And then I'm going to go ahead and start doing some of the back layers over here. We're going to start with basic shapes. One beautiful thing about Illustrator 2 is that you can round the shapes later on or use any of the other tools to round it out a little bit more. I also want to be using that other tool that we used last time, the distort tool, to make some of those changes. So we're going to do that right now in a second, and you'll be able to see it. And the way that I'm working on this is that I'm working my way backwards from the last layer all the way to the top layer. just that I can start building the layering behind it. What's up? Hello, good to have you. Welcome to the chat. Okay, so I'm thinking that, using the distort plucker and bloat tool would be cool here, because we'll be able to do something like this. I'm really liking this. So let me make it a little bit darker so you guys can see what's going on. I know it's kind of muddy to look at, but yeah, there you go. So this tool, what it does is that it creates in every single point, it blows it up or it makes it cave in or come in. So it's really, really cool to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and do this other one right here. And I'm tempted to actually follow the form that I created, because I kind of like this form, because it's almost doing like one of those like Russian hats up here around the face. And I kind of want to keep that silhouette happening. I want to make it go all the way down here. And I don't know if my pattern or my sketch is easy to see underneath that, or if you guys catch a little bit of my vision for this before I got started. But yeah, it's pretty simple. I'm doing it at different colors now so that I can start seeing them. It would be good to actually have this face on its own inside of that Illustrator file. I talked to a friend of mine the other day about this. Sometimes when I copy stuff from Photoshop, before you used to use copy paste, but now there's an extra step that you have to do now for security for it to let you do it. But sometimes I found that if you just drag it from one software to another one, like I just did, it just does it way more easy than just pressing copy paste. Or you can also save it as a responsible way would be to save it as a PSD, and then you can open it here. Any change you make into your PSD, it will automatically be changed here in Illustrator. But at the same time, right now, I just want to be having this face here. I'm not going to keep it there. I'm going to be having it here for the sake of like seeing it on top of everything as we create, and almost like the same way that we have the sketch. I'm going to lock the top layer so I cannot move that face, and I'm going to keep sketching some of the things that we're doing. I don't know if I should I really like some of these colors. So I might just screenshot this and use some of the same colors that we had here for our new piece. Part of like creating new things sometimes it's like there's a little bit of consistency that you have to keep with the way that you are creating some of the assets that you normally use on your work, because first of all that will bring consistency into what you do, and you'll have more people hiring you for your work, and it also gives you a style that people can follow and they can see. So this is something that I consider a major thing to do when you're working on your own style and creating your own style, is to always use a set of colors that are like, kind of the same or have the same kind of mood. You can absolutely like change those or like do something a little bit different if you wanted to, but it's always good to have that in mind. Yeah, all I'm doing here is basic shapes. I feel like everybody can do this. It's pretty simple to do it. I'm going to go ahead and do again. As you can see, I'm just clicking and following a little bit of my sketch. And I'm doing this because I want to be using that same effect that we used before. Let me go ahead and change this color to one of the other gradients so we can see it a little bit better. And let me know in the chat if you guys can see this or not. And if you cannot see it, I can maybe zoom in a little bit more. We've talked about this before, but sometimes when I'm designing, I like to keep things at a distance because I want to see how the whole composition is shaping more than anything else. What's up, Gabriela? Good to see you. Good to have you. So it's really good to also be thinking about composition as you're working on things from afar, right? So yeah, for those of you, the guys that are joining, I have this really, really like bad sketch that I just made on Photoshop a few seconds ago. And I'm just talking about the idea of like really planning out your work and kind of seeing what you want it to be ahead of time, so it's easier to work on it and to kind of direct every single aspect of it, and nothing cuts you really by surprise. So I have my sketch here. That's why you can kind of see the kind of messy like this. And I have a 30% or so thing happening. And then I'm building my things underneath that. I also have this model's face on the top because that's the way I want it to look at the end. And then I'm creating these different shapes and adding a little bit, starting to build that then I'll take into Photoshop. And this work here on the left is something that we created a few weeks ago. So yeah, I'm going to be using, again, going back into the effects, distort and transform. And I want to be using this effect again, like just blowing this thing up a little bit more. I'm going to say yes. Now we're going to go here. I want to do this sort of like star looking thing, very similar to what I have. So I'm gonna be using the same effect over here. So this distort, pucker and bloat. I think that's how you say that. And then if we bring it the other way, you can invert the effect a little bit like this. I'm gonna make this black so we can see it more easily. And I kind of like how it goes down, like almost like a spaceship type deal. We can obviously modify this by dragging these edges anywhere we want. It's pretty simple to modify and to edit a little bit of it. Thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it. Yeah, so pretty simple processes are repeatable, and something that you have to kind of like be ready to start doing with your work if you want to be able to create something that's consistent, that's cool, and that people can understand too how you're doing it, and you can also understand what you're doing at the same time that you're doing it. And like I said, for a long time, I would skip sometimes this process of ideation, or I would do it in a different way. And it's something that now I don't skip at all. Like I always try to make it super consistent. Cool. I like this. I don't know if I love the edges of it down here, but we can leave it like that for now. We can always, one cool thing about this and having effects in general that are in here is that they remain the same. So you can delete some of the points like I'm doing right now. And then when you draw them back together again, let's see. Yeah, it'll add the effect again, but it'll edit a little bit of that out. What I'm trying to do here is that I'm trying to get rid of some of those points, so I didn't have so many points down here. Okay, I'm going to be doing this part over here by hand, which means that I'll be using just the pen tool and drawing the shape the way I want it to be. And one thing that a friend of mine taught me when I was first starting to play with the pen tool is that sometimes keeping straight inputs on the pen tool, like instead of like going anywhere like this, you would click, drag straight, and then that will give you a lot more, like, 45 degrees, 90 degrees will give you a lot more control when you're working with the pen tool, that if you were to do like any sort of shape that you want, or like if you were like less control with it. So it's something good to keep in mind when working with the pen tool. I'm going to drag this one and I'm going to leave it like here, and I'm going to push it to the back behind these two. Perfect. And yeah, we're kind of layering, as you can see, some of these shapes, and then we'll add some shadows and things inside of Photoshop. I like this one. Maybe on this one way to edit this effect is to go over here to the effects. Where is it? Up here, effects. And then we're going to click on the effect that we applied before, and then we're able to edit that effect a little bit more, which is beautiful. So yeah, we're doing that. It looks like we have another shape up here on our sketch. And again, our sketch is just a sketch. Sometimes I love the sketches that I do, and I feel like I want to keep them exactly the same way I did them. Other times, I change a lot on my sketches. In this case, I feel like we did a fairly good job at creating a cool sketch, so I want to keep it. All right, I'm gonna make this sort of star looking thing over here instead of making it pointy or like bubbly, because I feel like when I use this effect again, it's going to add the bubbles and it's gonna make that pointy stuff look more like bubbles. Maybe you guys can see it down here. And maybe we can move them a little bit for them not to be so deep. That works. This tool is interesting. Sometimes it goes too deep. So we can just bring it back a little bit more. There you go, like that. This part of the creative process, sometimes when you're like creating or like going through this, sometimes it's like, I get desperate to go to the next step, right? Because I'm like, I'm tired of creating letter shapes and letter shapes and letter shapes. There's also a beauty of like, you know, to kind of go through this process and kind of have to do it manually sometimes. I know sometimes it's beautiful to also like be able to do something fast, but yeah, it's good to go through the work as well, and because more ideas come from that. I was talking to somebody about like AI, how AI make things faster sometimes, and I feel like that's good, and it's good to have an improvement on performance in a way when it comes to some things. But sometimes when it comes to art and creating art, an improvement on performance doesn't really mean that it's going to be better outcome, because that kind of like painful process is part of the experience of being an artist or like creating something new, and losing that really can like stop the flow of like new ideas, because you will have something immediately done and you wouldn't second guess it. You'll be like, oh, that looks good, and then you get skipped, you pass skip that. Versus when you are doing something like this or anything else that's like very manual, you can start seeing things and wondering, oh, is there a better way for this? Or you might have a happy accident that happens in the middle of creating that adds a lot of value to what you're doing, and it's something new that nobody is doing because you basically made a mistake. And so many ideas are started like that. So I feel like there's a lot of value to like struggling and not making things faster. What I feel like the AI thrives and is really good is when AI is able to preserve my momentum when designing, because designing sometimes is, you get to this point where it's flowing and things are feeling good, and you don't want that momentum to be stopped by something technical. So sometimes AI is good with that part. It's like, okay, I want an asset like this right now because I need to keep flowing on what I'm doing, and I'm glad to have that covered as well, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna drop this all the way to the back. You can see how some of the layers are coming together. I know it's kind of hard to see with some of the sketches on top, but you can see that we have one more here that we're going to be building. So I'm gonna do, I don't know if I should make it more loose like the way I have it here, or if I should do that effect that we've been doing. I think I'm gonna do it loose because I kind of like how I sketched it, kind of like flowy. And then we can make it bubbly up here. Yeah, I think this could work. Rob Ross was right. Happy accidents. Yeah, it's true. It's so true. It's such a big part of the creative process, right? Like having some accidents happen in the middle of what you're doing, and it really does add so much to your creation, your creativity, and it's sometimes we underestimate how much accidents really add to the equation of what we're doing. Whether it's because of pride, like sometimes people get prideful when they're making things. They're like, no, I totally came up with that idea. Or, when I mean accident, I don't always mean, I put this there by accident. But I also mean the accident of the idea coming together. It's something that happens to me very, very often where I'm like, it's an accident in the sense of like, I would have never thought of that if I didn't have to go through this process of drawing every single one of these things. And now that I'm drawing them, I thought of something else that I could do there. So that's what I mean by accidents. It's pretty cool. Okay, so let me make this flower back here. You see the little flower that's coming up. I don't know if I should make it more like this, where it's like, or if I should, let's make it like that. Let's make it like that. So again, I'm making a square. And remember, if you're making something this week and you want to post it on our Discord for the group to see it, this is kind of what we want to happen, right? We want to see your process from a sketch into like the final piece. And again, you don't have to do it, but it would be nice to see it. I feel like, you know, when we do like a little community challenge, it's just really cool to have those moments when you see that happening. Okay, this looks cool. You see what I mean? Like this is to me, this is a very happy accident here. Like I would have never done this thick of an outline. I had it set up like that because I was doing this before. And the best way to do this little capsule thing was to do it on have it like this, where it's like I'm making this thick kind of like things like that. And that was the best way to do it. But then because I had that set up like that, it did this one. And I like it so much that I want to definitely leave that as the outline. I feel like it adds so much personality. And in fact, I might bring that into some of the other things that I'm doing. So that's what I mean by happy accidents, right? Sometimes it's like, okay, something like this happens. And you kind of have to have the sensibility to like see it and see it for like it being something really good. So I'm going to group it and I'm going to throw it to the back, and you can see how it's going behind some of the layers, and it's going to be living right there, at least for now, until we send this over to Photoshop. Yeah. Okay, we were missing another flower here, and we're missing a couple more elements. One thing that I've talked about a little bit on this is like, for example, this pointy element here, although it's cool in my sketch, there's nothing else that matches this. I mean, there's a little bit of pointiness here. So I have two options. I either change this to an element that feels more familiar to the artwork that I'm making, or I commit and I maybe make this one pointy too. So now we're matching a little bit, right? So it's a little bit about how we find like elements in the same artwork that are cohesive with each other and they don't fight each other. They are like, they're like supporting each other and telling the whole story. Or we, I think that's the only way, right? To make it everything cohesive. And in this case, I could either create a new type of element that I haven't been creating on my work so far on this specific piece, or I decide to change this one into what everything else is like. But I feel like, with this, and with this element, I'm supporting this one down here very well. Another thing that I can do is that I can make it pointy the other way too. So this way that is kind of like this, right? It's a little bit more, has a little bit more of that pointy edge. Okay. Same thing here. This element is bubbly. I mean, we have it repeating up here, but I think it would be better if we actually make it kind of like this. So we'll make it like this. And again, as I'm making this, I'm trying to understand also that other tool that we're using to bring the bubbles in, the distortion tool. There you go. So yeah, we're learning to control it a little bit more to where it does what we want it to do, or like it's adding too much here. Like I don't know if we need to make that bigger. There you go, or like more out. I guess when the point goes inside, it makes it a negative. So I want to be able to control it as much as possible. And these are the little simple things that, you can get a little bit better at as you go. What's up, Jenny? Good to see you. Good to have you. Happy Thursday. These are the little things that you can start controlling a little bit more and understanding a little bit more of the tools as you use them. and as you make it part of your flow, right? Your natural flow of what you do. Okay, so I want this to be here, and I want this to be here. You know what? I feel like a few weeks ago when we did this artwork, we had these color palettes already chosen in Gradient. So I'm going to go find this file so I don't have to create this color palette again. And in a way, we can skip that step a little bit and go straight into that. So I'm sorry for going through my files real quick, but here it is. I found it. It's pretty easy to find. Let me go ahead and open it inside of Illustrator 2026. And here it is. Perfect. So this is the file that we started with a few weeks ago. And let me unlock it so I can move this out of the way. And I can pick these things that we were working with. The only reason why I want this is because I want to copy the colors, right? So at this point, I can probably, let me see if I'm missing any other object here. I don't think I am. I got my square over here, maybe this flower down here I didn't make. So let's go ahead and make it real quick. Yeah, let's go ahead and make that flower. One tool that we use a lot that time to make it was the start tool, because we're able to do that effect that we were doing, but then keep editing the effect like this after making it. So let's leave it right there and then go again and do the same effect. And then let's bump it up a little bit. Sweet. But the double thing that we can do here is like, because we're using the start tool, is that with the start tool, we can modify how many start things we want. I don't know how you could start picks you want. Thank you, Dara. Good to have you. Thank you for the next comment. Yeah, so you can modify how many things you want the shape, but it's going to take the attributes of this effect that we did to it before. So it's really cool because we're able to modify the thing even after we have it and just add more or take away more from it. In this case, I'm going to leave it like this, I think, although it's looking a little bit symmetrical for everything else. Yeah, and we go back to what we talked about before, right? Like, do we want to keep things consistent? If we do, then we have to break this down a little bit, because this will be the only symmetrical element on our whole composition if we keep it. So in this case, I have to break it down a tiny bit more. So instead of committing to it and creating more assets like it, in this case, I'm choosing to break down some of my composition, some of that element to look more like my composition. Okay, so in this case, we have everything done that we need for these. I could add a little bit more, but I want to bring it into Photoshop and then decide if I want to add more to it or not. So let's go ahead and go back to the layers, and we're gonna get rid of the sketch. We don't need it anymore. Yeah, and this is what we're left with. This is a little bit of a mess. Especially, it looks pretty flat because there's no layering to it yet happening, but it's still, I like how it looks. I think it looks cool. Yeah, I think it's looking cool. It's looking pretty nice. Some of these layers can move. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to apply gradient to all of these things first. And you see this element standing out because no other element here has such a big contour or stroke around it. So we can always get rid of it for now. For 1 second, I don't want to get rid of it because I really liked it. But let's start adding color to some of these things and then decide if it's something that we want to keep or if we want to let it go. Yeah, and that's part of it too. It's like sometimes some ideas you might really like, but not everything has to fit into the same format, right? You can, have the creative maturity to be like, oh, I'm going to save that for the next design that I make. And it might hurt right now, but sometimes when you try to force things, they just don't work. Okay, I want to make this a little bit more pointy because that way I have this kind of like pointy thing happening over here. Maybe I can make it more pointy still. And you see how this is like these three things are balancing each other. This one, this one, this one, and a little bit of this one. So it's kind of like having, having a little bit of that. You voting to make it work. We'll make it work. We'll make it work. Okay, before we try to make that work, I want to, you see this kind of wavy pattern, and this one right now is throwing me off a tiny bit because everything else feels a little bit more refined, and that doesn't. So let's go ahead and do the same effect that we've been doing to everything else, to these two. Okay, I like that better. And let's apply a little bit of these gradients that we had over here pre-made. Something also that I really, really recommend is that if you don't know the colors that you're working with ahead of like starting to create something new, I would definitely think about coming up with a palette. And there's a few tools out there that are really good for that. I think there's a tool by Adobe called Colors, if I'm not mistaken. That we'll look it up in a second here. But that tool, I used to use that one a lot. Right now, I use one that is called Colors with a double O. That is really good too because you can export color palettes really easily. So it's one of the tools that I use. Does anybody know the Adobe tool that is for color picking, and it gives you different things? I've used it a ton as well, but since I haven't used it lately, I'm like kind of blanking on the name. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna be applying some of these gradients over here, kind of layering them and seeing what it looks like. Trying to create distinction between like the layers of it and trying to make it to where you can really see what's going on. We can also do that by simplifying the color a little bit, doing something like this when we need to. Yeah, this one to the background. On this one, we're going to do, I feel like I want to do the same one for this one. Or maybe we need a dark one for that one. Yeah, but you can see how this is starting to look cool. There are some things that we need to keep working with here. The good thing is that I have a pre-established color palette here, which is these gradients, and I'm able to just put them in pretty easily and quickly. And I know they work great together. We used them a few weeks ago. That's when we came up with them. Yeah, it's literally called Adobe Colors. I think it is too. Let me look it up real quick. Adobe Colors. Yeah, literally colors.adobe. Let me see if I can. Here it is. Yeah. Yeah, so in this tool you can see different colors that people are putting out, and you can see it, search it in here by trends. You can see primary color trends. You can see vapor. You can see by style. But also there was a part of here, I remember from a long time ago, that you can upload your own photo and extract colors from it. Also, you could play with the different, I don't think it was this. I think you could also do like some color mixing and understand a little bit more of like the themes around color and the things that you can do with the types of color palettes you can create. So it's a really cool tool, and I know you can, grab some of those colors then, and then go in and play with it. You can see color harmony theory here, monochromatic, triad. You can kind of really play and understand a little bit of that. So if you struggle with color, this is a good tool to like come off the gate with it, and be able to start rocking some cool colors on what you're doing. Yeah, let's keep going with this. We are time flew today. I feel like time went way too fast today. And this design probably was a little bit more intricate than other designs, so that's probably why I felt that way. So I'm gonna expand this real quick. I'm gonna throw in Dino. I'm sorry we didn't get to stickers. We did a live a few months ago where we did the whole process of like switching stickers into like putting them in around the face. So I would look for that live where we did that. And I mean, I don't want to waste our time doing that because I will run out of time. But inside of our Discord, if you scroll up, you'll see when I posted it, and that's the live that it is on that same day. And I go into how to do it, so you can look at it by finding that. And yeah, because I thought I would have time to do that today, but I'm realizing pretty quickly that we essentially ran out of time. But we still have some time. We still have a little bit of time. So what we'll do is that we'll put this inside of Photoshop. And the cool thing is it's really, really easy to do that, right? This needs to be maybe red. And then let's save that uniqueness of having this glow in the middle only for that asset, because I want it to feel a little bit more special than the rest of the assets. So I'm going to switch this one to this color, maybe even green. Maybe something even like this. And then inside of Photoshop, we can start adding shadows and giving it a little bit more dimension and a cool look. And then also some like brushes and some photos. So we can do that next for our next stream next week. Whatever we're left with on this one, we'll jump into that one next week and start adding a bunch of shadows and even some materials or some photos inside of some of these layers to create something really cool. But yeah, it's pretty simple to go to Photoshop. You copy from here, go into Photoshop. And for those of you guys that joined a little bit late, this was my sketch. And then all you got to do now is copy paste. And I'm going to choose to do it by layers because I want every single one of those shapes to be in an individual layer that I can edit, I can add shadows to, and spend a little bit of time playing and doing our thing with that. So let's go ahead and throw it on top of everything. Press continue. I don't know what happened. Why is asking me to do that? Oh, I see why. I think what's happening is that I brought in the face as well. And that face is bugging a little bit. But I really wanted to see the face to be able to position it in the right place. But we can do the same thing. We can roll this down here, then copy it and throw it where we think is the right place. But of course, we can go back into Illustrator, which is what I'm going to be doing, and kind of taking a screenshot and mashing it to what we have going on over here. One thing that I see immediately from my Illustrator file is that a lot more zoomed out than our photo here. But that is totally fine. We got to make the decision if we want it to be bigger or if we want it to be smaller. And in this case, I feel like I want to keep it bigger. Let me see. Let me make this as big as that one. I'm trying to match it a tiny bit to see if my face is in the right place in comparison with my design. And it looks like it is pretty much. It's pretty good. Checking the positioning of it a little bit, smashing it a tiny bit. And yeah, what's left to do is the fun part. Start to like add life into these, add textures into each one of these, add clouds, things that are like cool and photography driven, which is something that we'll start doing. I'll start a little bit of the process today just to show you guys what it looks like, but then we'll continue for sure next week finishing this work. I feel like it's the first time that I'm going to be doing something where I'm like, I had a week where I make a design and then I take it into the next week. But I feel like for this one, it's worth it to like really add a lot of detail. There's so much detail missing here. And the cool thing is like when bringing stuff from like this from Illustrator, look at all this. You have all the layers all together and it's easy to just jump in and start doing things. So yeah, it's something that I really, really love to do. I remember having Yeah, also I forgot about this. Let's just see this thing in real quick. Where are you? Let me throw it up. Okay, here it is. Yeah, this is something really cool. But maybe what we can do is that we can do a layer of all these lines. And the cool thing is it doesn't have to be a black line like this. It's really evident right now. So it's kind of taking over the composition. But this whole thing could be like a solid color too, which, could be something like this. I really don't want to start adding another color into this because otherwise I'm going to break all the work that we did to keep things balanced. But maybe it's something darker like this, and then we can repeat it across a few elements and start playing with something like that. That would be really cool. Yeah, the other thing that we're going to be doing next week that I want to really do, and if I forget next week, you guys need to remind me, is to start using some of our assets here and combining them a little bit with AI to create some interesting textures, whether we use it in a way where you can really see the texture, or we can blend it into our design. But in that sense, we are in full control of what we're asking AI to do, and we have a really cool result to put in together with what we're doing. So I feel like it's a really cool thing to learn how to do. And there's two ways to do it. There's a way to do it with some of the Adobe partner models, which are the Google partners, but then there's a way to do it with Adobe Firefly as well. And that is cool because Adobe Firefly is commercially safe to use. So that means that it wasn't trained with people's content. It was trained with stock that Adobe already owned and have paid creators for. And then also it's trained with some of the like available content for everybody that's free on the internet. So yeah, it's something that we can look at next week as we finish this piece. I'm really excited. I'm excited to kind of dive into it. It's going to be hard for me to not to jump in this week and do it. But meanwhile, from now until next week, when we finish this piece, I hope to see you guys around on our Discord, and I hope to see you guys on my Instagram. My Instagram was just posted here, so go check it out. Say hi there. I'd love to see you. Thank you guys for the nice compliments, for all the love, for being here on a Thursday afternoon. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for spending the time with me. And yeah, we'll see each other next week in another episode of On the Spot here at Adobe Live. We'll see you guys. Have a good weekend. Bye.